kind of share one of just, a little bit about your experience on your tour. And I got it. I got that. I got it.
Manisha, you let us know when. Okay, just a quick impression of the tour, and then we'll go into the. Okay. Well, first, Vision View, where vision has no limit, is palpably obvious in every business that we just went to see. Amazing collection of ambitious endeavors, doing things that are so necessary for society, from finding people jobs to radio, television, mentoring, technical assistance, just a remarkable collection of businesses and nonprofits. And it's a complete honor to be here and witness this. And I hope that Beneficial State Bank can be of service to each and every one of you any way we possibly can.
Yeah, so I'm going to introduce myself really quick. My name is Yasmin, and I am the branch manager for Beneficial State Bank here in Fresno. And we have our financial literacy instructor here today. His name is Raphael. And he's definitely going to be connecting a lot more with Lanisha, Hope, and some of the organizations here to assist with financial literacy and just any needs that the community has, along with myself.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Beneficial mission?
Sure. And I might do it by going a little bit through the history of the bank, and a little bit of my own personal history. So I'm Kat Taylor, one of the co-founders of Beneficial State Bank, and currently the board chair. I was the CEO for 8 years as well. But my earliest memory was of what I call the civil rights funerals, the rapid succession assassinations of JFK, Bobby Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. And as a young child, as I was born in 1958, I knew that something was seriously wrong in the origins of our country. It took me my whole life, and I'm still a lifelong learner, to deeply understand the experience of others in this country, based on really horrific institutions of African enslavement, Jim Crow, mass incarceration, Native genocide and land theft, persecution of immigrants and refugees, less than personhood for women, and other non-gender conforming folk, and incredible environmental degradation, especially afflicting Black and Brown communities. So I knew that I had to do something about this in my own ambitious ambitions. But it wasn't obvious as a white middle-class girl from California how that was going to happen until Martin Luther King said in one of his last speeches that the civil and human rights so hard fought and won would come to mean nothing if we didn't have economic justice. So when I was in college, I studied the great socially responsible banks that had grown up, South Shore Bank in Chicago, Self-Help Credit Union in North Carolina, and even Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, about the role that banking could play to realize economic justice. Now, mind you, we've had decades of banks playing a very pernicious role in society of redlining and racially discriminatory covenants and mortgage lending and all sorts of things where banks inflicted a tremendous amount of harm on communities, especially communities of color. But it seemed possible to us that a bank could be a business force for good. And in fact, if we didn't control our economy to be compassionate, fair, and environmentally restorative, it would kill us literally. And I think we've actually seen that throughout my lifetime, and it's time to take our economy back. So we did found a bank in 2007. It was originally called One California, because it was a California-based bank, and we felt that we needed to act as if we were all one, that until nobody was suffering would anybody thrive, and until everybody was thriving would we have really a moral society. So we gave the bank a number of parameters beginning with that it's owned by a nonprofit. So Beneficial State Foundation owns Beneficial State Bank in the main. We have one other small investor that is also a charity, but that gives us alignment in our ownership. So our owner is not asking us to maximize profit by doing anything, close to illegal. It's asking us to optimize. It wants us to produce racial and social justice and environmental well-being while we're financially sustainable. And that's a really important hallmark of our bank in particular. We know that that's not going to be the case for all banks, but we are a bank at the point of the spear trying to lead a banking movement to improve banking for everybody, to change the banking system for good. In addition to that, we adhere to several other commitments. So for instance, we think of banking as the original and most powerful form of crowdfunding. You've heard of GoFundMe, et cetera. Well, depositors are our crowdfunders. So for every $1 equity we invested in the bank, we can collect $9 of deposits. It's a little more complex than that with the fractional reserve system, but it's essentially a very leveraged form of crowdfunding, which means that we should observe the wishes of our depositors. And we take it for granted that they also support racial and social justice and environmental well-being. And we insist, therefore, that at least 75% of our loans are achieving those missions, and the other 25% can't be working against them. If you think about it, if we had the flip, we'd just be reinforcing a very cruel economy, but this is actually changing the economy with every loan that we make. We also insist on very high road corporate practices beyond that. Things like we pay 150% of living wage in all markets so that people can afford to live. We are not paying people just to work, we are paying them to live. And we monitor that every year through the MIT Living Wage Calculator. We also try to be a green business ourselves. We comply with green certification requirements in all markets. And we insist that we reduce our carbon landfill and water footprint every year per FTE. Many more issues like that in the corporate governance area, but that just gives you some examples. And then finally, we're very transparent about what we advocate for and what we're accountable for. So we don't follow the banking industry lobbies that try to secure more advantages to acquire more profit for the banking industry. We are asking for regulations that keep, consumers safe and banking products fair and transparent. So for instance, recently we were very involved in getting our Department of Business Oversight, which is our main regulator, to become, with increased authorities and resources, the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, because especially during economic downturns, we know that financial fraudsters come out. Sometimes that's the biggest banks themselves taking advantage, especially of communities of color. So it's time. This is a time when we have to secure more protection for bank customers. So that's just a little bit about who we are and where we came from.
So now I want to introduce you to the Green Book Investment family. Our spokes leader, Tama Jossi, Anthony Daniels. Everybody just, Green Book Investment family, stand up. Tama, you come to the front. D1 Delano, you come to the front. Anthony, you come to the front, and then we'll just kind of do a roundabout. But just kind of, sharing a little bit about why Green Book Investment Family, where did that kind of come from? Where did the name come from? And, how does that line with community? Mm-hmm. So tell us who you are.
We have to bring Lawrence up as well.
Where is Lawrence? Yeah, there you are. Outside.
Joe as well.
Yeah.
No, you keep the microphone.
You want us to just speak without the microphone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I feel like where should I stand?
Do you have a change cover? Do you have a microphone cover?
Yeah.
Oh, take your cover off. Take your cover off. Okay. Thank you. Them big strong
I
hands.
don't know, you know, at some
I got
point.
lotion on my hand.
He said he got lotion over there.
Ain't no rubber.
Yay, success.
I got lotion on my hand.
That's a lot, man.
How y'all doing today? Good, good. I'm excited for this conversation. I will, I'm waiting on the mic cover. Will you have to talk? All right. Thank you guys for bearing with us through that.
have a mic on that other one too.
So Green Book Investment Family is a group of individuals connected to Fresno in some way, specifically connected to communities that have experienced social, economic, and environmental trauma. Those communities are south of Shaw, specifically West Fresno. Now, we know that in Fresno, there's a 21-year life expectancy difference for communities south of Shaw and north of Shaw. And so we ask ourselves, what's the difference? There's also a wealth gap for folks south of Shaw and north of Shaw. There's also a lack of resources in West Fresno, such as a lack of clean water, a lack of healthy soil. We have one of the highest infant mortality rates in the country. It's comparable to third world countries. And this is all directly related to the environmental and economic and social conditions in Southwest Fresno. So we came together, identified a need, and decided, okay, we can't continue to beg people to assist our people and get us out of this dilemma. So it's time that we put our skills and our resources together to build something for ourselves. And so that's what we have done. And we're guided toward helping Black businesses specifically, helping people form their businesses, also giving people financial literacy and the tools they need in order to build wealth in our communities, because we know that poverty is apparent to crime, right? So if we can also introduce our communities to wealth building opportunities, we can eliminate crime. We can eliminate a lot of the social, economic, and again, environmental trauma that we've been experiencing. And we have so many different people in our group who contribute to these factors in so many different ways. So what I'll do now is I'll allow them to come up and talk a little bit about themselves briefly and what it is that they do. And I know you've already spoken to Lanisha. If you'd like to start us off again, or we can start
We
with
can go
someone.
ahead and jump in.
All right, so I'll pass it off to Joby Jones here. He's playing like a dual role. I'll let him explain.
Good afternoon.
And you're talking to so you come on this side here so you can talk to David.
Okay.
No worries.
My name is Joby Jones. I'm a pastor. Born and raised West Fresno. So you can see I'm part of Green Book, which I thank D1 for this idea and reaching out to me. We have me and my wife. We do something called Stop the Violence Fresno. Is where it's a personal mission with us. We've lost, we've got a lot of loss, a lot of scars. I lost my little brother to gang violence. I was shot 8 times. So what we decided to do is give young men, young ladies an opportunity to be a part of people who would just love on them and give them the right direction, the right insight on how to overcome and not get caught up in the gang lifestyle. So what we do is we've got a couple centers and we work in schools and stuff like that. And we partner with guys from the streets who want to come out and make a difference, right? So that's really what we do. And it's a way to give back, give them hope that they don't have to be caught up and become a statistic. So we bring my little nephew on board right here. He's going to be a great leader one day. So and having him around people who will invest in him, like life skills, understanding, knowledge, and business, how to do it the right way. We're taught the wrong way. We know how to do wrong. We know how to do bad. But now this is how we give back and show our communities that there's another opportunity.
Thank you.
This is Anthony Daniels.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. My name is Anthony Daniels. I'm an author. I wrote a book about credit. My
It's
role,
on Amazon.
It is?
It is a good sell.
What's it called?
the 800 Blueprint.
Okay.
Yeah. So my role is I take a passion in teaching people about credit, about money, about finances, specifically people that look like me. people that's been through something. Me, myself, I'm an ex-con. I've been in prison actually a couple times. And I turned my life around, became an entrepreneur. Got with like-minded people, Green Book, and I'm just here to contribute. That's basically it.
Wonderful.
And he is so humble. He is probably, I don't even know how much money he owns, but. He said it, but he just dropped it. How many books do you have? How many books have you written? Like.
I got 4 more coming out.
Wow.
I say it's really like a blessing for all of us coming together. I'm born and raised in West Fresno. I think I went to, I think it also been to the penitentiary. Came out to be an entrepreneur, turned my life around. And that's one of the building blocks. And just really help people, any type of tool and muscle I could use to help and build this up. That's why I want to do it from the ground up, honestly. So this really means a lot to me. I don't really look at them as friends, I look at them as my family. So anything I can do to help, that's what I'm here for. So use me as a tool, and definitely, any direction we go in, I'm behind 100%.
And he teaches us about gold and silver and Titus. So and they have, yes.
All of that.
Yes.
I'm Delano Hopkins. I'm kind of, we came together. Well, Tamara and I have been doing community work for, I would say, maybe together for about 6, 7 years. And, we would get together, we would have meetings with different organizations, and it just felt like that, they would talk about meeting the needs of our community, but it seemed like it was just all talk. And, it was just to the point where I felt like, we were begging these organizations to basically give us crumbs. And, I told her, enough is enough. And I was able to reach out to guys like Anthony, Joby, and we just decided to come together and we're gonna do for ourselves. We're not going. We're tired of begging. So we came together, and we're just looking to help our community. Help our people. It's a tough fight. It's our issue is systemic, and some type of way we have to. We need a new system because the system hasn't been working for us.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your time and everything. And I really do believe it's going to be a hard fight because when you talk about racial inequality, you talk about a privilege, and I don't think a lot of people want to give that privilege up.
Yeah.
Because it is a privilege. But I just think that we just have to come together and work together, pool our resources together, and help our community, help our kids. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And some type of way we hope that beneficial come along and help us, help our community.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Tired.
You come in here. You want to come in here? How do we get our name?
So I'm Titus Clark, born and raised in Fresno, just an entrepreneur. I got brought, I came on with Anisha, because I do podcasting, and I was actually on my way to her office, and she pulled me in the meeting. And this is really something that I was looking forward to being a part of. And so I joined, we were trying to come up with a name. And I remember my grandma was telling me about the Green Book from a long time ago. And she said Fresno was one of the stops on the Green Book. So I brought that up to the group. And everybody was brainstorming, and that's when we came up with the name, the Green Book Family Investment. And so we're just striving. We're going to make a difference. We're going to make a change. I say thank you guys for listening. And,
Thank you.
And then our young person up is really next. Any other?
I'm gonna have, all of them come up here really fast, I'll go quickly, but I wanna tie it, all of the men in our group are so humble, can't you tell? I wanna elaborate on nothing, but Green Book, do any of you know what the Green Book is? A few of you do, okay, so this was a roadmap for Black folks to know where it was safe to go, how can we navigate from point A to point B safely? And with the right information, equipped with the right information, the right stocks and all that. So our group, we're trying to get our people from point A to point B. So it's like an economic roadmap. How do we take our people through those necessary steps to acquire that wealth? So I wanted to give you the full scope, because I know our brothers is trying to hurry up and pass this mic. But we have a few more people that I'd like you to hear from that are part of our group. There's 13 of us, so we'll try to be quick. I want to have Anaya. Come on, let's introduce you. I kind of did it for her, I'm sorry. I'm Anaya Hoggett. I'm a first year business administration student at Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. And I'm a youth intern for the Green Book Investment Family. And I feel my role is just to show the youth, like, there's a way for us. Financially, freedom. As far as being youth in Fresno, there's a lot of people who don't really know that there's more out there. So I feel like it's my job to, one, retain information, two, share the information, and then to continue on with the legacy that everyone here is building. And yeah, that's it.
Come to the front. Come to the front, Roger.
Hello, I'm Regina Williams. I think you all got the opportunity to see me in a few different habitats today. I'm very excited to be a part of Green Book. A little history of me. I am a paralegal, community advocate, some things in the past, but I think the biggest thing about Green Book and why I'm so excited is because you have vision view here. We can make money, we can come together, but the money instantly leaves the community. We can make all we want here, but where do we go spend it? There's no circulation of the Black dollar. And I think our ultimate goal is to deal with wealth redistribution and circulation of the Black dollar. Because the manufacturing and the production part of a lot of things we don't necessarily tap into. Even if we go and open up something like a strip mall, that's a great endeavor, but we are manufacturing, we are producing that money eventually. So even if we hire our own, they go spend that money elsewhere. There's nothing to catch the Black dollar, it doesn't circulate. So we were very interested in looking at options and how we can kind of solidify some of these collections and these connections and circulate the dollar. Being very happy to be part of Green Book Investment Family. And to speak about Vision View, you walked around Vision View, and the reason I'm very proud of Vision View, you walked around and you've seen a few things, but there are very few hands that are holding together this fabric. So you're only seeing the foundation, but the possibilities are endless because we, under the leadership of Lanisha, we've learned to hold the line. So you have one or two people, which is why you're able to see me in different places holding the line. So I know that the potential and where we're going as a family with Green Book Investment and Vision View, and that's an amazing opportunity because there's very few of us doing this. So once more hands are on play, we're just excited to see where we're going.
Hi, I'm Miss T. Blacksher. I'm a real estate agent amongst other things. I'm from Fresno. I think for me, this is beautiful because I have children and we're all about building a generational wealth system for our future doctors, politicians, whatever they want to become and do. And it's important that we teach them now so that when they get our age, they have a foundation and a system already set in place to move forward for their children. So I am happy to be a part of the Green Book family.
All right, I'll try to let the ladies go first. That's what I do.
one of the things I'll be speaking out to everyone and looking at you as well. My name is Roger Brown. I did spend 18 years, but on the other side of the prison as a correctional officer, work with the community and also fellas that's inside. So the biggest thing bringing to Greenwood is what I do, because I wear a lot of hats out there. So by wearing a lot of these hats, being in the community, I have gotten components, two entities of higher education for our African-American kids, and also another component of bringing to the Green Book is working with African-American farmers. So we've been working with a lot of scholarship with kids, is what we do about giving scholarships in the ag and just in general. A lot of our kids have also gotten scholarships from the Gates, Bill Gates, and things like that. So working with the agriculture, bringing that in there, showing them how what Green Book in America really got started, giving them the history, giving them the culture of what blacks have brought into the country, because that's where it started from our culture. So by teaching them how all the food and all the ingredients and things that come from what we eat, that's what is important, to stay healthy. So therefore, that's what I play my part of being in the Green Book. So we have a lot of work to get ahead of us, to get it done. So. Well, yeah. I was following room.
Hello, everyone. It's a blessing to stand before you. My name is Jasmine Jones. My husband briefly introduced me, but I am a community advocate. I was born and raised here in Fresno, West Side Fresno, an area which I love and still adore. Growing up, I've seen a lot of poverty. I came from a working class family, but even so, we still had months where we struggled, living paycheck to paycheck. But at the same time, education was emphasized in my family, so therefore, I have a master's in business administration, and I'm working on my doctorate in education. My thing is, I want to educate. I don't just want to educate the youth, but I want to educate the mothers and the aunties, because I understand the powerful role it is when there's an empire being created within each home, how amazing that is, and how that transforms the perspective of the youth. Now I'd like to introduce one of our youth. His name is Cameron. He's going to give you, y'all hold on to y'all seats, because this young man is brilliant, I promise you. But I want you to hear his perspective. Yeah. Here we go. Economic, everything that you heard, and everything that you heard, and just speak to us.
Well, I mean, what we've been going through is historical, as we all know. Okay, so this, I go back, when I think about economics and our financial stability, I sometimes tend to go back to the Black Wall Street, but, okay, I'm not gonna get into that. But what I've seen and endured, like with finances and poverty, is, you go to the other side of town and you see so many businesses and so many stores that I don't have on my side of town, and that would be a real nice thing to see, as we all know. What I like what she said, how we need to not just educate the youth, but women and men too, because I'm very oriented in my history. So when I see a woman of color, such as a Black woman or a Mexican or Latino woman, I tend to call them queens. When I see Black men, I tend to call them kings, because before you do anything, you have to remember where you came from. And that's with anything you do. Just like when I started to get into it with Stop the Violence, before anything, my Uncle Joby told me, they're gonna mess with your mind, they're gonna manipulate you, and they're gonna use psychology against you. And ever since that, I've stuck with him in the long run. Everything that's happened to me, he told me it would happen. And I just, you know, I like to thank him and his wife for putting me in a position of power. Putting me in a position of power. Yeah, I mean, to an extent. But yeah, it's just
Speak, young king, speak.
financial literacy. We have to remember, remember people such as King Tut and Nefertari and all them. You know, Nefertiti. You can get Nefertari too. Too slick. But you have to remember what we came from, you know, because when we break this down into numbers, right, money flows through the Black community in minutes. But when you go to other communities, the money may work around their community for days to weeks to even months. And I wanted to get us to a position of power where we can do that too. But I know that it's a scary thing for governments and for big businesses, because if we started our own business, a lot of their profits would be gone. Because all of these designer clothes, such as Gucci, such as Louis Vuitton, all of those their backbone are Black celebrities, Black comedians, just Black people in Black entertainment, are their backbone. So I know it would take possibly decades, you know, to reach the stability of our peers. And I know I won't see it in my lifetime, which it hurts to say it, but when you look at it statistically, it's true. Yeah, I'm just rambling.
Just really fast, I wanted to.
I don't know how old he is.
How old are you, baby?
14.
14.
No way.
Yes.
No way.
So we're on a mission, a community mission to kind of elevate our thinking in no longer being consumers, but investors. In fact, the shirts that are on the table here, if you guys could just lift those up, these are the kind of narratives that we're pushing. So invest or starve, buy land,
Yep.
have smart money,
Yep.
eat with the team, don't compete with the team,
Mhm.
ownership.
Yeah.
So these are the types of things that Green Book Investment Family is kind of narrative for our community.
Yeah.
And actually, I want to bring it back to Tama, and she's going to tell you one huge other opportunity that we've taken on.
Yes, but really quick before I do, I just want to acknowledge our young king here, 14 years old. And what I'm about to talk about, thank you. Oh, yes. And I can't forget about Aranaya. She's 17 years old in
Yeah.
college. But those are just two of the reasons why we're doing what we're doing. It's just look at how this young man is at 14, and he had a mentor to guide him and pour into him. But he talked about going into North Fresno and seeing all these businesses, nice stores, doctor's offices, nice houses. Then you go to the west side and you don't see any of that. So we have our children waking up to nothing, empty fields, nothing to aspire to. Well, we have to keep in mind that a part of the reason why it's like that is that the city of Fresno gives subsidies to larger corporations to move their stores. That's okay. It's all good. They give subsidies to larger corporations to put their stores in North Fresno, so they get tax breaks. It's cheaper $20,000, you can put a stick in the ground north of Shaw. It's gonna cost you maybe almost $500,000 to do that in West Fresno. So all of the businesses were going to North Fresno. So now it's like, how do we combat that? Again, talking about the begging. City of Fresno, can you please put a healthy grocery store in a food desert? It's been a food desert for 40 plus years. No healthy food. The one grocery store that's in West Fresno is the highest, most expensive grocery store in this region. And these are where the people with the lowest incomes have to shop. So Greenbook's first project is to bring a grocery store into West Fresno. But we're not doing this just because it's just in your grocery store. We know that bringing in a healthy grocery store will raise the property values in the area at least by 20%. It could, has a potential to. So then we're building wealth there amongst the property owners in the area. We can fund the mentorship programs and have our youth come in and get that job training that when they go to a job, people are like, oh, you don't have enough experience. Well, how can they get it if you don't hire them? We can be that hub for them also. And lastly, I mean, there's so much more that's gonna go into it, so I'm gonna have to make y'all sign a disclosure agreement. But so you're just gonna keep it light, but lastly, we're going to make it environmentally sound. So making sure that we're not just a corporate or a business coming into this area and adding to emissions and spoiling the soil, but we wanna make sure that we're a solar farm for folks in the area, that we're using resourceful tools and building materials that's gonna benefit our folks. So anyway, that's it in a nutshell. I definitely would like to pass it back over to Kat, because I know we've been going on and on and on, and you got a lot of information, but I definitely want to hear from you and just how you see beneficial, maybe aligning with our vision for our community.
Thank you, guys. You can use that, I'm gonna say you can use
Yeah,
that one right there.
Thank you. That was super inspiring, super inspiring. I'm so humbled to be here to hear of the plans that really amount to heroic mutual aid. And I'm going to speak a little bit beyond the perimeter of Beneficial State Bank, because we do a lot of work that's complementary to, but not necessarily done by the bank. And by the way, your masks are incredibly attractive and great branding, great branding. And you young people, wow. I'm so impressed with how articulate you are about what's really gone on in this country, where you really come from, and the kind of intentional attacks and assaults that the Black community has had to go through right up to the present. I always counter the impression that somehow environmental harm just happens accidentally in Black and brown communities. It's put there. It's intentionally put there, because otherwise it's going to drop the property values of white communities. So I had the great privilege of being hosted twice, actually, by, is it Self-Rest Baptist Church? St. Rest, sorry, Self-Rest. I have mutual aid on the mind. Anyway, and I learned of that 21-year difference in life expectancy. It's from societal assaults. That's why that's happening. And the rendering plant that's right in the community, Darling, called Darling Industries or whatever, now I think it's Darling Energy Companies. I've been looking at that, and I have a lot of colleagues and friends in Allensworth, where they have endured the same kinds of societal attacks, 17,000 animal dairies trying to be placed there, the removal of the railroad spur, the draining of the lake. I mean, this is a common story for Black communities throughout America. I read a paper about 10 years ago now called Bleeding Albina that's about the same story in Portland, Vanport, a 40,000 person public housing community, Black, brown, and white, situated, this will sound familiar, below faulty levees. Built up over time, washed away in 45 minutes when the levees, as predicted, broke. Diasporaed all of that community throughout Portland. The Black community settled in the Albina district, where they once again bootstrapped and built their beautiful economy that was circulating Black dollars successfully. Along come the white patriarchy capitalists, and they destroy the community. They divert property tax dollars from it. They don't provide public safety. There's no investment. It's redlined. The real estate values come down. At the bottom of everything, they, through eminent domain, take all the property and diaspora the community again. So this is not coincidental. It happened in every major city in America. And that disinvestment is devastating for decades after it, because you actually have to have equity. You have to have money to make money. It is very hard, for instance, for a bank to lend when there's no equity in a business. Similarly for communities. So I'm part of something called the Regenesis community, which is efforts like your own for equitable, racially equitable community economic development that redounds to the benefit of the community, that circulates those dollars, that builds equity, builds collective ownership, like cooperative businesses, community-held amenities, home ownership, et cetera, because it's all about wealth. Power is about wealth. If we don't give back power, wealth, income, opportunity, land, political power, we're not going to sort out our society to be just. So I'm also part of a philanthropic effort to reform philanthropy, because too many philanthropy dollars sit on the sidelines or go to self-serving purposes, like you give to the private hospital, or you give to the university and you get better treatment, as opposed to actually supporting working charities. I recently announced a Good Life Pledge, where with our wealth, we're going to give it back. We're going to give the assets back to communities, starting with 5 of them, including Allensworth, and hopefully your community. We're just not going to solve this unless we give it back. That which was stolen has to be given back. And that would give you, and that gives you the tools to do what you already know how to do and are doing, which is making money, creating wealth, creating community ownership, providing a safe environment for everybody. Not only is poverty the parent of crime, it's not self-inflicted. It's inflicted by society. If we were running the economy right, we wouldn't need charity. Everyone would own a little bit of everything, and no one would own too much of anything. So I'm super invested in putting more and different people in charge. We haven't had the right people in charge for a long time. And that means leadership like you have in this room. So however I can help personally in your journey, I will leap at the chance to do. I was going to ask Yasmin to talk a little bit about the bank's products and services, but I want to say something, and I hope it doesn't sound like some big excuse, but we have to work with a spectrum of capital providers, because a bank can't do it all. So starting with grant making, we have to recruit grants to increase your capacity to absorb capital. That's what's going on here. But as Lanisha said, it's coming like saving out of paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. So it takes 3 years to come up with $30,000 to retrofit a beautiful coffee shop. Like, we have to accelerate that with grant funding. And then we have to find ways to transfer equity so that there's an equity buffer. Then debt providers can come in. And there's a whole spectrum of debt providers too. So loan funds like Opportunity Fund and Community Vision, we need to work in partnership with them, because sometimes the best role for a bank is when those loan funds come in and fund businesses, then we come after they're seasoned, those loans are seasoned a little bit, and we participate or buy those loans in. That recycles their capital to go to more small businesses. We also have to take advantage of government funding. Regenesis Community was named after a project in Spartanburg South Carolina, that over 20 years parlayed a $20,000 Environmental Protection Agency grant into $300 million of capital investment. They built 17 federally qualified health clinics, affordable housing, home ownership housing, aquaponics facility. They took back 2 Superfunds and 6 brownfields and remediated them all. Tiger Woods is designing a golf course to be an attraction for tourism on a former brownfield site. We've actually funded Regenesis. It's a community steward named Harold Mitchell is taking point on creating a playbook, how Regenesis did it. But for all that it would happen in Regenesis in Spartanburg, it also happened in Buffalo. It happens in Richmond, California. There are pockets of hope like your own that we need to recognize and amplify, and secure government funding, and not just from the EPA, from HUD, from everybody. Like, it's a concerted effort. So please have some patience with Beneficial State Bank while we try to fill the role that we can as a regulated deposit-taking institution. And we will bring in other community partners in the lending space, the 2 I mentioned in particular, Opportunity Fund and Community Vision, which used to be called Northern California Community Loan Fund. You might know those folks, but and more that we find as we go along. But if you'll allow me to pass this to Yasmin so she can talk a little bit more about the products and services of Beneficial and our approach, including financial literacy, et cetera.
And just so you know, before Yasmin, a number of us have already started shifting our monies to Beneficial Bank. Raise your hand if you've already opened up a bank account at Beneficial.
Wow. Thank you very much. It actually is that's another form of mutual aid. When we get depositors to support the bank, then we can do the even more community work. So thank you very much. Super important. Oh, you want to use that one too?
Can you guys hear me? Oh, it's this one.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, part of the reason why we've been really advocating for Beneficial is because we really believe that it aligns with our mission. As stewards in this community, we're tired of giving to people our money, and we see no, real reinvestment in our communities and stuff. And so when I first met you a year ago, and I heard your heart, and you sang your song, and I heard the mission, I was sold. And ever since then, I've had a vision to be able to bring, the Beneficial vision and share that experience with a lot of us here as well.
Thank you.
Just to kind of share my story along with what you just said, I've actually been in banking about 15 years. I've worked at a few financial institutions, and I completely agree with Lanisha. That is definitely one of the things that brought me to Beneficial State Bank. I grew up here in Fresno, so I was born and raised here, went to school in West Fresno, and I'm very familiar with the area. And one of my passions since I was younger was to be able to help my community and be able to give back. And, I chose the financial industry, but other institutions that I had been with before didn't allow me to do that. I was very restricted, and there were times where I would get in trouble because I would have, a small business owner or a customer that wasn't quite ready for, the type of bank that I was at, and I would refer them out. I would spend, up to an hour with them, going through their credit, trying to help them understand and really get to where they needed to be. And I just didn't like that. So Beneficial came along, and, getting to learn more about their mission and the values and really what the bank was about, really, really attracted me. And I can honestly say that I am extremely happy to be part of the team, and I've been with Beneficial about 2 years now, and honestly, the things that I'm able to do and the way that I'm able to give back to the community through, a bank is unheard of in our industry. And so I am very, very proud to be, part of the team and be able to give back to my community that I grew up in. And so going into like our products and services, very unique, very different. Again, unlike any other institution I've been in, we do pretty much the same thing as any other bank. So we have, consumer accounts. So we have free checking accounts, which is unheard of right now. Completely free checking accounts. We have savings accounts. We have certificates of deposit. So we have CDs, can earn you a little bit of interest. But specifically for our business accounts, it's huge. I have, customers that come in and will bring me their bank statements, and especially right now during COVID, are really, really struggling with these fees that other financial institutions are charging, and really telling them about our products and services and really comparing. I mean, it honestly doesn't compare. We have free small business checking accounts. We our fees are very, very minimal, and free business savings accounts. I mean, everything that a normal business account would have, we can do. And like Kat was mentioning, we are a little limited on the lending side due to regulations, but one thing that I love doing is connecting individuals with other organizations that are able to assist. And we will walk you through the process. We will stay with you, even if we can't assist you at the time. We will definitely continue to guide you until you're able to come back and we're able to help you. So that is my passion, and that is one of the things that I love to do, and really being with my customers 100% of the time, 100% of the way.
Any last remarks from, we have our young people? Oh, Miss Jackie, I want to introduce you. Miss Jackie is El Dorado Park. She's a local leader.